And we are back again for the very last match for World of Warcraft Arena here today. And I'm really excited. Are you still excited? Good, that's what I want to do here. Now, once more, one last time, let's take a look at the groups so we can once more see who we already saw playing. Some teams already have been eliminated and some teams already made it through to the semifinals. We have Skill-Capped, Bleach Bones, as well as the 3 Amigos who are going to be playing tomorrow. And this is going to be the last deciding match. So let's quickly once more take a look at the schedule for today so we know exactly where we're standing right now. And as you can see, some matches are already being through, and now we have one more to go. That's going to be a very exciting one too. So I am ready for all the action to take place here on stage. I'm just going to assume you guys are as well. So let's bring out the first team we're going to see. Please give a warm round of applause for Playing with Fire. And their opponents, Push Push from Korea. So that's the 2 teams for our very last round. Let's maybe start over here. We haven't been talking to you guys on stage yet, so that's a first. And something a lot of people have been wondering is mainly about your composition, because normally the comp is more played with an Ice Mage. You guys are playing it with Fire, as your name already gives away. Why is that? Why do you think that's more viable?
We have the best Fire Mage in the world, so why not?
Good, well, that's a good reasoning, I have to say. Now, our lovely Koreans, this is the first time you're actually on such a big stage. So what I've been wondering before, is there any stage fright whatsoever? Does that even play in, or are you completely like tuning out that you're on such a big stage in front of such a big crowd right now?
지금 이렇게 큰 관중들 앞에서 경기를 펼치게 되는 게 이제 별로 많은 기회가 없었을 것 같은데 이렇게 큰 관중들 앞에서 경기를 펼치게 되는 소감이 어떠신지?
일단 이런 게 처음인데 그래도 엄청 재밌고 긴장보다는 너무 재밌는 것 같아요.
So he made it short. At first he was very nervous to be in front of such a large crowd, but now once the game starts and facing these amazing, challenging people, it's just all about his game, so he's having so much fun with this BlizzCon.
That's nice to hear. And you definitely have a lot of support here in the crowd too. So I am really excited. Thanks a lot for joining me for the game here. And of course, good luck to both of those teams, which means we are ready to go. So one last time, I'm going to hand it over to our casters.
Thanks a lot, Zoe, and thanks for the interview. I'm so excited for this match. I think it's going to be a really tough one for Playing with Fire. You know, Push Push has looked so good. Yeah. And I feel like this is, a lot of the matchups that they've played are ones that are pretty tough for them. Now, I feel like this is one that their setup has the advantage in.
Yeah, definitely. They have been playing a lot of those matches, like you say, where they're going into compositions that should win against their Warrior Mage Druid composition. But in this one, it might be a little bit easier for them, but at the same time, like, it's really hard to say that because Playing with Fire obviously has been doing very well in this tournament so far already, got themselves into the quarterfinals, so we'll have to see what they have in store for us.
I'm just excited to see Warrior. I mean, just flat out. I mean, it's exciting to see like a lot of class diversity. I know that a lot of people talk about how we're going to see a lot of Lock Shaman something, you know, in all these setups, and then having that Warrior changes the pace so much. If these teams are so used to playing these long, drawn-out endurance games, like you got to imagine, you know, Sidu during those last matches, that it physically tiring to play through that, you know, and mentally just exhaustion the entire time. And then these ones are going to be, you need to be on spot, non-stop, every global beginning to end, or these guys are going to kill you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely a very different play style, like you said, and it's very different pacing as well. You know, there are a lot of really good Druid Mage teams in this tournament as well, you know, and 2 of them are going to be going up against each other here in this matchup. So it'll definitely be interesting to see, you know, who comes out on top Playing with Fire. I know they are definitely, you know, not happy about their road to the finals, and I think this is a team that they're hoping to avoid. We'll see how they're going to be able to do, but it is going to be Rin playing the Druid. It's going to be Sad Story on on the Priest, and it will be Livin playing the Fire Mage. So yeah, you talked about the class diversity. We have a Fire Mage here, we have a Moonkin here, we have Windwalker monks, warriors, hunters. We have all kinds of different stuff. So it's definitely been one of the most exciting BlizzCons ever. You know, the games have been extremely close. I think it's probably the most competitive one we've seen yet.
Yeah, and like Zoe was saying, it's usually a Frost Mage in this composition, but if you're just really, really good at fire, why not play what you're really, really good at? But of course, they will be going up against Push Push here from Korea. That's going to be Coding on the Druid, going to be Yun Yun on the Mage, and that's going to be Young on the Warrior. And these guys, they played earlier, and they just looked absolutely fantastic. Their crowd control was just spotless. There was very little overlap, if any. And even when they did like follow up one CC with another, there was always like just barely any time left on the first one to begin with. Very little wasted time on CC, which is just so powerful in the arena.
Yeah, I mean, their team is so well coordinated, and I think we are already ready to get this going. It looks like the teams are raring to go. They are queued up, so we can hop on into this game. It will be opening up for you guys very shortly. But yeah, I mean, it's for the Fireplay team, it's all about just kind of that setting up that one burst opportunity. You know, getting the Fire Mage to get his damage out. But you know, with a Warrior riding Sad Story, if he's riding that Shadow Priest, I feel like it's going to be really hard for Sad Story to get involved to get the CC and the damage out that he does need to do.
Right, and that's going to be the determining factor of this match. Like the Shadow Priest is really the clutch player basically, because he's going to have to flex and both be able to stay defensive, like have the defensive mindset to help out Rind when he does need to get out of those CCs.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So this match is just about to start. We will be heading in here very, very shortly. The gates are just about to open. This is Playing with Fire versus Push Push. It's our last match of the day. Let's get a good one out of this.
Should be a good one for sure. It's definitely going to be very exciting. These Koreans have been playing so damn well today, and they are just chilling in the entrance. We'll see if there's any sort of issue going on there. But
I think they're waiting till they push in, and then they're going to start.
I'm not sure. Anyway, you know, Rind and them are still playing, and they see now that something is going on. So I guess this is going to have to be a replay of some sort.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So with this Warrior Mage Druid playing against the... what would be the difference if they weren't playing against the Fire God Comp and it was the normal God Comp setup? Do you think that it's a very large playstyle difference from the mindset of the WMD?
I think the thing is, it's harder to predict sometimes when the Frost Burst is going to come out. I mean, it's like we see the amount of damage that, you know, Venriki's putting out in some of those series earlier. You know, they don't have to do as obvious of a setup. Sometimes it's, you know, it doesn't have to be the deep freeze on the DPS. It can be a deep freeze, you know, for CC, and then the orb comes out and just procs being spammed out with trinkets up and things like that can be damage that just kind of comes a bit out of nowhere. Whereas when you're playing with the Fire Mage, everyone knows exactly what the setup is. The setup is, you know, you get heating up, you have that pyro proc, you alter time, you deep freeze, and you spam the pyros into the deep freeze. If the deep freeze gets dispelled, if a cooldown is, you know, pre-popped for that deep freeze, those are the kind of things that stop it. So, you know, the players know exactly what to expect against Fire Mage. And I mean, if it was you know, the easiest thing in the world to stop, they wouldn't be here, obviously. It's even though you know what's coming, it can still work.
Right.
But the thing is, it's more predictable because you know exactly what the setup they're looking for is, and especially against another mage, they can you know, be spell stealing you down and harassing you pretty well. You know, if you get MCS when you throw out your deep freeze to burst as a Fire Mage, something like that, that small can really shut down the whole burst.
Yeah, for sure, but like it is still a truckload of damage that can happen in a hurry. And sometimes you can see the truck coming all you want, it's still gonna hurt when it hits you. So yeah, that's definitely still something that's very difficult to actually have to deal with. Hopefully we can get this game going here again relatively soon. Had some sort of issue with one of the computers, I believe, but that should be resolved here very shortly, and we can get back into this game.
Yeah, and if you're following along at home, the big keys to this match for the CC is you're going to watch for the cross CC that's going to happen right when the deep freeze is going to land on the kill target. So, you know, keep an eye on Rind and see what debuffs are thrown on him. It's kind of like the tell. You know, you might see the combustion impact.
Yeah.
As the quick stun setup on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, you know, looking for things like, you know, Fear Silence into the deep freeze on DPS, things like that. So they're definitely, you know, are going for those setup kills. But WMD is a very setup-oriented comp as well. You know, it's more of a pressure comp than the other team is, just because the Warrior can constantly be in your face, just putting out that damage and forcing you back. But in general, you know, the two teams are definitely very CC based, definitely very setup based, and I think that the team that kind of gets the earlier start, the earlier CC on the opposing team's Druid could be the one that really takes the match. You know, especially in the case of playing with Fire, if they can get early fears on the Druid, can definitely make a huge difference. It really can kind of just set them ahead enough that they can, you know, get a kill. Because the thing is, if you have help to get those fears and stuff, that's really what it's about. You know, the mage and the priest are going to have to work very well together. You know, maybe throwing Dragon's Breaths on the Druid to hold them in place so that you can get there and actually get that fear off. Things like that is what's really important. Those two players have to coordinate very well and make sure they're constantly CCing the Druid if they want to have enough pressure to get a kill.
Yeah, and we've seen them using Dragon's Breath very, very effectively in the matches that they've played before. They can generally find a good time to get a nice Dragon's Breath on all three of them. And it's just every bit as effective as like a triple Shadow Fury or something in those situations. So definitely still very much some advantages to having a Fire Mage over a Frost Mage. Maybe a little bit different overall. Yeah. But like they said, he's one of the best Fire Mages in the world, so why not roll with it?
He said the best.
Oh, the best. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm sorry, yes. Yep. The best.
Yeah,
and I mean, there isn't a lot of Fire Mages around, especially because of how good Frost is right now for setting up. You know, we talk about there's so much preparation that the other team almost can't stop once it gets rolling. You know, there's no way to prevent a mage from never getting procs. You know, because Living Bomb is going to be all over the place. They are going to get that deep freeze. They are going to get fingers.
All right, so we are going to take a very short second here to look at a video real quickly. While we get this figured out, we will be back here in just a moment with this match.
The World of Warcraft World Championship. Players from Europe, North America, and Asia will put their teamwork to the test as they compete for the title of Best World of Warcraft Arena Team in the world. 8 teams are all that remain from hundreds of online contenders, and now all have the championship trophy in their eye. Through Blizzard Entertainment's global qualifier system, teams faced off in regional events to find out who would secure their spot at BlizzCon. In Europe, teams clashed at DreamHack Stockholm in the historic Ericsson Globe Arena to compete in the European qualifier. Fighting for 3 coveted slots, teams battled across 2 days of matches. With a trip to BlizzCon on the line, World of Warcraft witnessed some of the best matches of the year. Skill-capped EU, Playing with Fire, and Bleached Bones secured their spots representing Europe's finest in the World Championship. In Asia, teams from China, Korea, and Taiwan faced off in regional qualifiers before advancing to the Asia Qualifier Tournament. With fierce competition, teams from China and Korea grabbed the 2 Asian slots to the World of Warcraft World Championship. Pop CD No Skill from China secured their nation's slot, with Push Push from Korea representing their homeland at BlizzCon. In North America, the best talent on the continent met in the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City. There, fans watched on as the best arena teams from the region faced off for the remaining 3 slots. 3 Amigos, a team who has been kicking tail in World of Warcraft PvP for years, managed to snag the first slot, with Penny for Your Thought, who escaped from the lower bracket, and Death Innovators grabbing the other 2. Despite their home turf advantage, the North American teams will have to give it their all in the quest for the title of champion. The World of Warcraft World Championship. Though their roads have varied, the top 8 teams have their minds, wits, and teamwork put to the test in a gaming event like no other.
Well, a pretty amazing road to get here, and the teams are continuing forward on this journey, but unfortunately one of these 2 teams is the only one that's going to go forward. You know, one team is going to have their road end here. You know, it's all or nothing for these guys now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been a crazy journey thus far. Even just today, we've seen a lot of teams eliminated entirely from the tournament today. And like we saw Pop CD No Skill get eliminated earlier. They played some amazing matches both last week and today, but they still were not able to make it through. Now Push Push and Playing with Fire, one of them's got to be the next one to go.
Yeah. It's always so heartbreaking that when you're at this level of tournament, you always wish that the teams could get one more shot, you know, especially if they just came down to a nail biter, a 3-2, you know, deep into dampening games that were decided by one global, you know, this way or that. And it's always unfortunate, but there's always next year.
Yeah, man, and that's the thing is, that's the difference sometimes between these teams that are very good and qualify and the champions is these one little things. It's the one mental error. It's the one thing that you notice, you take advantage of, and you claim that game because it's so close between these teams in so many of the series that one little difference can be the difference between getting like 6th or 7th or whatever and actually winning the whole tournament because sometimes it's just that one series, that hump that you have to get over. And we've seen lots of series where teams can barely get out of the group and things like that. They just squeak by. Sometimes having to rely on other teams to win a game to push them through and things like that. But then the things start to come together for the team, and they're able to actually catapult that into an entire tournament win.
Yeah, absolutely. And like looking at this tournament overall, this is actually one of the most evenly matched World of Warcraft tournaments possibly ever in terms of the skill of all these teams. We've seen plenty of 5-game series. We've seen 3-1s. We have seen some 3-0s, but even the 3-0s we've seen have all felt like super close the whole way through.
Oh yeah.
Like it could have easily been a 3-2 in any of those matches. So these teams are absolutely ridiculous. Any single one of these teams could be the champion. Obviously, though, only one of them actually can be.
Yeah, I mean, 3 teams have already, been eliminated. We're about to eliminate our 4th team, so we will be left with only the best 4 teams tomorrow. That's going to be, only 3 series played tomorrow. It is single elimination, so teams will either get that 3rd or 4th place spot, or they'll go straight to the grand finals, playing, for the difference between 120K and 50K. So, it's so much on the line for these teams. They know they're only a couple series away from being the champion. If you win here, you're 1 series away from being in the grand finals, 2 series away from being crowned the victor. I mean, it's so close. These guys can taste it, and they don't want to have the dream die now.
Yeah, and that's a heck of a payday difference going from 50K to 120K in terms of the overall prize pool. Plus, you do get that trophy, which is so awesome looking this year as well. So
yeah, I mean, if you lose here, you go home with 10, which is still pretty nice for a week's work or whatever. But it's not the same, and it's not what they're looking to get.
Yeah, and it's still like it's way more than a week's work when you really think about it. Like the amount of time that these guys have been putting into this, the amount of effort that they've been putting into this. Like it becomes your job when you really want to be the best at World of Warcraft. So these guys put a ton of effort into this. To go home with only 10K at this point, yeah, it's great, fantastic. $10,000 is still a lot of money, but you really want to get a lot more out of it than that.
Of course, and that is split 3 ways as well. But you say it is it's your life. Yeah. And for a lot of these guys, it is. I mean, a lot of these guys in the tournament are popular streamers, things like that, and it's something that's kind of cool. With I think as the years pass and stuff, players are better and better known, and then fans kind of feel like they're closer to them and stuff because they get to watch them all the time on Twitch. You get to learn about them. You get to know their ins and their outs, what they like, what they don't like, their personality and everything. And it really does kind of create that backstory that has the fans really supporting them that much more. And I think that's the biggest reason that a team like 3 Amigos has so many fans is because they're all 3 streamers who are streaming all the time, and they just develop a bigger connection with the fans.
Yeah. That's a very good point. If you compare to when, the days of MLGs where, people might have been flying around and appeared on stream maybe once a month, right?
Yeah.
Just you show up to whatever city it was, you play your best whether you did well or not. Now, these guys are going to go home. They might take a couple days off, but they're going to be back streaming immediately.
Yeah.
And you can really tell the difference because when we were in China for BWC, we kind of saw Reckful get mobbed by the Chinese fans, right? He was standing there signing autographs for like an hour, basically. Yeah. But this happens everywhere now for these streamers.
Yeah.
Like, there are so many, even the non-esports streamers that we've seen. We see Serious Gaming is out in the crowd, and saw Abdu, out there too. Like, tons of people just signing autographs nonstop, and they have such a big following at this point.
Yeah, and that's
really cool.
That's one of the things that's so amazing about being at BlizzCon itself, is you just get to sort of mingle with all these awesome people and just hang out with like your internet family, as I use air quotes here. It's really fantastic being out here and being in the crowd with all these people. Like, and people walk up and talk to even us. They'll walk up and talk to us, and it's just so fantastic to actually have that opportunity.
For sure. It's definitely pretty awesome. And hopefully we will be able to get this series underway quickly. I know that they are just working away, trying to get that sorted out. So some sort of a PC issue for the Korean team, and hopefully not going to be a lingering one, as everyone's definitely eager to get this going. And I know that the Heroes of the Storm guys are definitely going to be eager to get their series going as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's going to be fantastic to watch as well, the Heroes of the Storm matches afterwards. I am really, really excited for those. almost as much as I'm excited for this next match.
Well, I really like this one because it's kind of going to be something that people don't see too often, this kind of match, especially not so far in the tournament at all. Where you have the Fire Mage that's going to do so much damage, but it requires the setup. You can see it coming, versus the Warrior Mage. With the Warrior is so good. Like, Young is just outstanding, and I really like that. A lot of times you might see Warriors that'll just sit in defensive stance the entire game, beginning to end, knowing that, at any one point they can switch to me. But we really see him swapping and going battle, like almost constantly, to the point where he's going to die because of it, but he knows that he has to put that damage out.
And I think, traditionally with all the best Korean teams, the biggest difference it's not so much about individual skill with these teams. It's not that they're not individually skilled, but when you look at guys like Orange Marmalade and those kind of teams that were, the best Korean teams, it was about their team play. It wasn't about the individual skill. It's the fact that they work together as a cohesive unit better than anyone else. And I think that is really what shows through. When you watch the players individually, yes, they're very skilled, but I don't think that, player for player, some of these the Korean players are as strong as some of the counterparts from Europe and from North America. But what they do have is they have better team play than anyone from those other regions. I think they're more coordinated. They're better on the same page. You talk about battle stance, D stance, going back and forth, things like that. And it's just, I feel like, because it's such good communication between the teams, they know exactly when they're safe, when they're not safe, and that's why you never see CC being overlapped. You never see those kind of mistakes that are just so common, even among the very best teams from the other regions. It's just such an easy mistake to make, but these guys just seem to never do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, our other team as well, playing with Fire, has done incredibly well in the past themselves. But it looks like the match is just about to get underway here. We got our technical issues sorted out. We will be getting into this map, Push Push versus Playing with Fire, starting off on the Grand Arena. Just so much building up to this match. It's our last match of the day. I think everybody wants to see a good match. I'm super excited for this. I'm hoping for a good one.
Yep, definitely. So we are going to be getting on into the game, guys. It's going to be game one between Push Push, the Koreans, going up against Playing with Fire, another European team, making their stand here, trying to make it all three European teams in the semifinals, and that would be massive for the European regions. But the Koreans looking to play, a little bit of an upset there, and it would be pretty cool if they made it as well, because we'd have representatives from every region if they do.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be fantastic. All right. Here we go. Doors are now opening. We're following Young out the door here. I'm going to see what his plan is. Wow, he is just getting aggressive immediately, jumping right over there onto Sad Story, trying to start putting a little bit of pressure out. Rind already in a deep freeze there as well. Push Push is out for blood in this match.
Yep, and Rind to pop the Heart of the Wild early on here. Wants to keep his team topped off. We do see the clone coming over onto Yeon. That's going to be trinketed up. As he does trinket, he gets MCS. Deep Freeze thrown out. They're going to be throwing the pyros out onto him. That is going to cost him his trinket. He does get dispelled up by Coding, though. Living in a lot of trouble. Oh, he's down to 20K. Oh, my God. That was almost the game right there. He gets the block off just in time. Now out of the block. The Sheep's still sitting onto Rind, and Rind has no PvP trinket. We do see that the alter time is up there for Livin. He's going to alter back now, looking to start getting some damage going. There's the deep freeze over on a Rind. Sad Story in trouble. The CC is coming out very one-sided. Yeon going to be sheeped off, but Coding popping the innervate early, wants to keep his team aggressive. Now the Dragon's Breath coming out. It's going to connect onto the Mage. Impact onto Coding. Coding going to be sheeped off by Livin. It looks like he's going to try to get the setup here onto Yeon. Pyro does connect onto him. MCS thrown over onto Livin, and they're going to go back onto the Mage. Remember, he did blink forward aggressively, so he could be in some trouble, but Yeon is as well. He's down to about 400K.
As Coding had to trinket there on that fear, so that is going to play a difference, because look at the silence onto Young and Coding. This CC is excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we're seeing it as well. Livin now in that Cyclone there. They can see the heating up procs on him. They can see that he's trying to set up for his little combo, the Pyroblast combo that the Fire Mage just relies on so heavily, and they do not want to let him get that one off. If they can keep him from ever actually using his procs, they will eventually fall off, but it takes quite a bit of CC and just general hiding to be able to avoid that.
Yep, and we did see a nice MD there from Sad Story over on the Rin, removing him out of that sheep. So if you're not going to sit on the Shadow Priest, you have to, shut him down in other ways. We do see that the Symbiosis Fear came out on Livin there. It's going to break from damage, so Sad Story into the sheep. Yun going to be MCS. Coding is free from CC right now. Young is going to be put into the Cyclone. He's going to be rooted up after that. Now the Intervene into the charge. They're going to be going aggressive onto Sad Story. Deep Freeze on a Rin. That's a full poly coming out. Will they be able to get the MD? Doesn't look like it. Dragon's Breath does come out though. Rin now out of the CC. He's going to be re-sheeped up. We see that there is some more damage coming in though onto Yun. The Pyro is now going to be swapped over onto Young. They're splitting the damage a little bit. Oh, down to 60k. Wow. The block going to be forced by the Koreans.
Yeah, that was interesting. Living actually deeped the Warrior and dumped damage into Yun, but it paid off.
Yep, definitely did. Now a nice Dragon's Breath going to connect on 2. That's going to be the Warrior's Trinket coming out there. Livin going to trinket as well as he gets feared up. Rin has the Trinket also. A lot of damage coming in onto Livin here. Sad Story is into the Cyclone. He's going to be pushing forward, looking to get that sheep out. Yun going to be sheeped up by Livin there. That's the spell knocked by Coding. Nice play. Very back and forth game so far.
Yeah, it looks like Livin actually had actually stuck in a polymorph. No, excuse me. That is not a reflected polymorph. I thought it was for just a second because I saw the animation, but it looks like something else was reflected. They are trying to just keep the CC going as long as possible. Coding in a polymorph there for a second. That is going to get knocked off of him. Livin now in that stun. He's just going to go ahead and sit through it, but Rin now in a full polymorph. He does not have his Trinket. And Sad Story in that Cyclone as well. They need to try and set up some damage on Livin in the middle of this cross CC, but they just were not able to do much.
A nice sheep there onto Young, back behind the pillar. Livin doing a good job so far. They're going to be pushing out, looking to set something up onto Yun. I think once again, Coding has his PvP Trinket, as you did say, and he's sitting very high on mana. Rin definitely, way behind in the mana department. Daz no Trinket either. Sad Story in some trouble. He's into the Deep Freeze. The Stormbolt onto Rin does expire. Some heals do start coming out. They throw the clone out offensively. Now the charge over onto Livin, trying to swap up the damage. Coding gets thrown into the sheep though, and the Koreans will retreat. They're going to go back onto Livin though. He's chased in a little bit too far. He's into the Shockwave. Breakfast is going to be popped. There's the Skullbender as well. They're trying to get aggressive here on Livin. Can they force another block? A nice Deep Freeze. No dispel from Coding, and that is going to mean that Livin is okay for now. Another Dragon's Breath connects on 2. Well played by Livin. All the Warrior cooldowns used there offensively, and nothing happened at all. And now the Alter Time coming up from Livin. They're trying to spell seal off, but they can't. He goes right back to full HP, able to allow Rin to sit through all that CC.
Stormbolt comes out on Rin right there. The deep onto Sad Story, plus the fear. Look at this CC all across playing with fire. Not doing too much damage to their target though.
Was it dispersed though?
Yeah. So they were able to force that dispersion out, which is really good for their next setup.
Yeah, they definitely.
Oh,
it could be right
big
now.
damage
right there. Sad Story goes down.
Wow. And that was really good. That CC that was lined up onto Rin with the fear plus, and I really liked that they had the Cyclone onto Livin too to prevent the Warrior from being CC.
The cross CC from this team has just been fantastic. That's what we've been talking about. Their team play is so good, and you can see just how excited they are. They know they're only a couple of games away from moving on, going to the semifinals. After having such a tough first round opponent, losing to Bleach Bones, they're trying to battle back here. And I mean, it was an early disperse from Sad Story, which I think was actually really intelligent there, because he knew the CC wasn't going to end on Rin anytime soon. He used it at high HP, but it just wasn't enough. Rin was about a second or 2 away from having his PvP Trinket back, but they had a fear into the clone, into the sheep. I mean, there's so much CC on the Rin, and once you get hit by one, you're no longer able to really avoid any of the others. And I think the Symbiosis Fear that they're using is actually really intelligent as well. Almost everyone would be using Symbiosis with the Mage. That's just something that you would never really see. Like anytime Druid Mage plays together, the Symbiosis is on the Mage, like 100% of the time in this comp. I think this is actually the first time I've ever seen Warrior Mage Druid played with the Druid using Warrior Fear, and I'm sure people are going to be tweeting me now saying, no, I do that. But anyway, regardless, in a tournament or anything like that, this is like the first time. And it makes a lot of sense, because the thing is, I was thinking, well, yeah, Rin can get CC'd, but they don't really have that much. Sad Story has the fear and everything, but now with Intimidating Shout, plus the Symbiosis Warrior Fear, plus Sheep, plus clones, there's so many extra CCs, and that really just puts it over the top. It makes it so difficult for Rin to really do anything.
Yeah, and obviously, because of the 2 targets that they're going to kill, playing with fire is going to kill Young or Yun. I don't see them ever going on Coding in this setup.
Yeah.
And I could be completely wrong, and make me eat my words at this point, and they go on him. But I think that Symbiosis was a good idea.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I mean, it's not just defensive, though. You know, you can use it for a trinket, which is really one of the biggest reasons that people do it. So, you know, there's lots of reasons to use the Symbiosis on the mage, but in this case, it really worked out well for them. And the team is just playing so well together. We'll see if they're going to switch anything up. Maybe Coding is going to Symbiosis on the mage now. It'll be interesting to see if he does change that around, you know, anticipating them going on him.
Yeah, so here we go. This match is now starting. Push up 1-0 versus Playing with Fire. We are on Ruins of Lordaeron, which is Playing with Fire's pick. So it's going to be interesting to see how they actually decide to go with that here. It's an interesting choice because I would almost think it's a little bit in favor of the Warrior comp actually playing on this map, but apparently Playing with Fire disagrees. They think that they're good on this map, so we'll have to see how this goes.
Yeah, there was a full sheep over on a Rind out of the Stormbolt, but it's going to be emptied off by Sad Story, so nice start for them. Yunyun has had a trinket. A lot of damage coming in on Livin. Yunyun did lose his trinket there, though. Now out comes the orb. Whoa, look at the damage on Sad Story out of nowhere. Getting very, very low as we did see those mage cooldowns coming out. There's the full fear onto Livin. He's actually going to be broken out of that now. The temporal coming up there from Livin as the damage is swapped over from Yunyun onto him. Rind has had to trinket as well. Coding still sitting with his, so this is looking a little bit rough. Now the Stormbolt comes out onto Livin. The Warrior, Young, trying to push the damage onto him.
As you see Young trying to connect to his target of Sad Story. They've been training him the entire game. As we do see the heart come out from Rind also, just getting that little bit of extra healing that's needed to keep Sad Story almost topped. As you see that Sad Story does have to trinket that also. So this is looking really good for Push already.
Yeah, and there's the silence on a Coding. They're trying to set something up. They have got his trinket, so that is something. Heart of the Wild's up for Coding, though. He wants to keep his team topped off, and so far it looks like he's doing a great job at it.
Yeah, definitely. You're talking about trinkets. Push has already used all 3 of their trinkets very, very early on. Livin has his available on Playing with Fire, but both Rind and Sad Story have had to use theirs already as well. And there's the Frozen Orb coming out, and the combustion, I heard it. I didn't see who it was on, but I heard it. It must have been dispelled immediately.
That orb was a rough orb, not hitting anyone whatsoever, not getting any procs out, just spinning against the wall. So that's pretty rough for Push. But look at Livin pushing up, doing some damage, as we do see the fear onto Coding that does fade, but Livin taking so much damage, having to block. So that was a great offensive push by Push.
There's a Shattering Throw coming from Young. They're going to try and keep up the damage on him. Rind is now in a polymorph. Livin is got the Alter Time up, and he's going to jump back over here. It looks like he might be okay. He's still taking a lot of damage, though. Rind now in that Cyclone. Livin is silenced, but it's looking like they are going to be able to stabilize here. There is a fear on Rind, but that's going to get broken, and they are going to be able to top Livin back off.
That was actually the Symbiosis Ice Block coming up from Rind there, so he doesn't have that, doesn't have the trinket either. And it's also interesting, you know, that Young is playing Safeguard, so he is playing Safeguard for the damage reduction to be able to use that onto Yunyun, and that was a big reason that, you know, even though Coding got CC'd, it didn't really matter. The Deep Freeze comes over on Rind, full sheep out onto him. There's a Symbiosis Fear over onto Livin. Sad Story is the target. It's a 3v1. The trinket's going to have to come out from Livin, it looks like. Sad Story down to about half. He's going to get cloned up offensively. Now they're going to look to perhaps swap it over. Yes, the clone does come out onto Rind. That's going to be the trinket from Rind right as it came back off cooldown, and he's not out of the woods just yet. Sad Story down to 200k. It may be this burst as he hits 100k there briefly. Catches a massive heal, though, from Rind. Looks like he's fine.
Yeah, he did get the Iron Bark there, so that's one little cooldown out of Rind out of that, but it looks like he was able to keep him topped off without actually using that Dispersion, and now Sad Story does have his trinket available once again. So Playing with Fire actually doing a great job keeping up with this constant pressure coming out of Push. They're actually trying to turn it around on Young right now. Does have the Cenarian Ward up and has actually used his shield wall as well. Not quite dipping low enough to dip into second wind area, but there was a combustion on him. Also lots of damage going in on Young for a moment. Now stunned as well as Yunyun is dropping down that Ring of Frost to try and break things up a bit.
Yep, Rind now into the clone. Livin taking some damage here. The Koreans battling back. We can see Sad Story throwing out the palm, throwing out the shield, trying his best to help him out. And I mean, Rind really struggling on the mana. That's the biggest problem here. We see the trinket from Sad Story. He's trying to get the MD on the sheep, but he's going to be charged on that. Well played by Young, denying that. We do see that the Alter Time does come out there from Livin, but not that effective. Now full fear onto Rind. The CC is just not ending, and it's just going to be this constant 3v1. I think this could be the game, as it's probably going to be shattered off. Does he have it available? It doesn't look like it just yet. Now he's going to charge over onto Sad Story, just try to spread the damage around. Livin does come out of the Ice Block. He's back to full HP. Full sheep from Livin onto Coding. Can they actually ever get anything going, though?
And look at how fast Young retreated behind the pillar, knowing that Coding was going to eat this long CC chain.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very good communication coming out of Push Push. That's sort of been their MO this entire time, is just constant communication, very, very well coordinated, and it's working out very well for them as they're now putting in a ton of damage onto Sad Story yet again, trying to do what they can. He's in the Stormbolt. Rind now silenced as well. Sad Story could be in a lot of trouble right here. Has a Cenarian Ward in the Iron Bark, but it might not be enough. Sad Story dipping so low in there.
Yes, dispersed in 5 seconds, and he is going to live to get it. Yun almost went down. So did Young in the meantime, though. We did see the rallying cry from Young, the block from Yun. So really, that was the reason that Sad Story was able to survive. Just now, his disperse does come back up. So I mean, the presence of mind there to be able to push them back, to get that damage out on them during that, was really all that kept him alive. But Rin is so tapped on mana. He's going to have the Innervate spell stolen off by Yun. He's into the Stormbolt. The Will of Sheep come out after. It doesn't look like it. We do see that Rin has to Ice Block to try to get out of that coding now. Is going to be feared up. Is Yun actually going to be put into the damage? We do see the MCS over onto Pyroblast coming out, taking a lot of damage, and Livin may go down to 90k HP, 200k HP as he
Rin has no mana. He has no mana. He's completely tapped on mana right now. This is not good for Livin. Livin really, really, really has to kite right now.
Yeah, and we're only 3% into dampening. Rindis had to spend so much mana.
Oh, here comes the Warrior Timers. As Recklessness is popped right there, they're going to dump a lot of damage into Livin. Livin has the Pyro proc right now as he's going to try to make something happen. Blanket Silence onto Rin, even though he's completely tapped. But look at the cross CC onto Young's team. He's not able to do any damage whatsoever with those cooldowns.
Yeah, playing with fire, absolutely running on fumes at the moment, but they're making it happen. There is that poly into that Ring of Frost on Rin, which means Livin could be in trouble, but they're actually kiting relatively well at this point. They're able to stay away from that massive damage that Young really, really, really wants to put out right now.
Yeah, and they're going to have to be able to do that if they want to survive much longer. Rin has just been so low on mana for such a long period of time now. You know, if they get that one big burst, it just may be the last one they need. Sad Story getting relatively low here. He does have his disperse. Rin is going for a drink, though. We'll see how much mana he's actually going to be able to get back. Here comes Yun. There is Young going to be able to land the Stormbolt. The trinket comes out on the Dragon's Breath, living down dangerously low. Stormbolt is followed up by that Deep Freeze onto Rin, but so far he is going to be able to survive. Deep Freeze thrown back onto Yun. That's going to be dispelled off by coding. We do see that the Reflect goes up there as well. So PvP trinkets and cooldowns being traded back and forth. Livin did have the Ice Block in the midst of that, though. Sad Story still taking a lot of pressure, and there's a full sheep onto Rin. We see the Ring of Frost connects on Livin as well, and Sad Story maybe forced to disperse here. He's down relatively low, throws out the Fear. Then we just see the clone now onto Livin. Rin pops the Heart of the Wild, but he's going to be put into the Shockwave. It's connecting on multiple members. He's still stuck in that. Another clone comes out on Livin. MCS onto Rin. Sad Story still just desperately trying to stay alive. He's so low on mana, and now the Deep Freeze into the clone onto Rin. A full Fear onto Livin. Sad Story still has held onto his disperse, but for how much longer the disperse does come out.
Yeah, this is a very, very scary moment here. Rin once again in that clone, but it almost doesn't even matter. He doesn't have the mana to spend to even keep his team alive. He looks like he's going to try and get out of combat and stealth. No, he's not able to. He's going to have to keep spending what little mana he has to try to keep Sad Story alive here, and I don't know that he can hold on to it too much longer. The VE even coming out from Sad Story right now, trying to do every little bit that they can to help keep his team alive, and they are actually going to stabilize just a little bit very briefly, but no, Sad Story still taking so much damage. It's dipping so low. Yeah. Livin doing the best he can to try and keep Yun polymorphed just to limit that incoming damage, but I don't know how much he can even do.
Yeah, and there was a full sheep onto Rin. That's going to cost him his trinket. Young just constantly pushing out this damage, and Rin is at 3,000 mana against 150k from Coding. Coding just has such a big lead at this point. And I mean, the dampening is coming in, and that stacked up with the Mortal Strike effect is making it so hard for Rin to heal through this. He does pop his Innervate. That's going to give him a new lease on life, at least briefly, but his mana is just not going up. He's having to spend it as fast as he gets it.
Yeah, and I'm actually kind of surprised that they let Rin sit with that Innervate so long that it wasn't spell stolen that time. Push has just been so on top of everything else. I would have expected to see that, but maybe they just decided it doesn't matter. They've got Rin now in a full polymorph. Livin silent. Sad Story in a Cyclone. Livin taking a bunch of damage. I don't believe he has an Ice Block available yet. He's going to try and get a healing touch off, but he can't do it. That's a stun onto him now. Taking so much damage here. Actually getting really low, and down he goes.
Yeah, and he actually had his Cold Snap ready. So he did have that at the next block. It just came up right before he died, and unfortunately unable to get that off was Livin, and now they're up against it. They're down 2-0 against Push, who is just playing so well.
They were. The thing that really stood out to me in this match was Push would go on Sad Story. Rind would spend his 2,000 remaining mana on getting those life blooms and rejuves up, and then immediately they would go on the mage. And then they would keep swapping back and forth, and it just absolutely drained him the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, he was really struggling, with low mana for so long, and he did a good job to keep his team alive for that long. Sad story, doing a good job also really helping out, with the palms and shields and so on and so forth. So, they were doing a good job to survive, but it's just hard to see where they ever get their kill. And not once in this series has it ever really seemed like there was a legitimate threat of a kill, unless we're talking about, the mage not blocking or something like that. But,
yeah.
I mean, it's really tough. And, Skill Cap DU has got to be sitting there looking on, wondering, what the heck are we going to do against these guys tomorrow if they have to fight them? Because that is going to be their opponent. They are playing a different spec, sure, but they're playing the same comp, and they're playing at a similar level. So, you got to be thinking they're pretty nervous.
I think Push Push is reacting very, very quickly to the fire cooldowns, though.
Yeah.
I think that they're just doing a great job. And one of the things we were talking about, when we mentioned older Korean teams such as Orange Marmalade's team, was that they know exactly when to go offensive and when to bet it all on the match. I mean, there were times that we saw, the Priest just smiting while his entire team was dying. But with Push Push, it seems very calculated, exactly when they're going offensive and defensive. And Coding is just a beast. Like, he lets his warrior do whatever he wants during that match, and he sets it up for him.
Yeah, I mean, this Druid is incredibly impressive. Especially, I mean, he's playing very well in this series, but the games against the LSD2 against Bleach Bones, I mean, I've never seen a Druid heal through it that late in dampening, and he was keeping his team alive with 50% dampening. It was just ridiculous.
All right, well, here we go. This could be game point. If Push Push can take this, they will 3-0 against Playing with Fire. We're here on Blades Edge Arena. I do like that map choice for Playing with Fire here against the WMD. It's very, very difficult, but we saw Push Push playing on Blades Edge before, and they almost won against an LSD2 on this map.
Yeah, and I don't think this is nearly as bad of a matchup for them in that. So they are going to be starting off hard onto Livin. We did see that the Sheep did go over there onto Sad Story briefly, but it's going to be broken. Sad Story is going to be the main target, but both the Shadow Priest and the Warrior being thrown in clones by Coding and Rind going to be able to pop his Innervate immediately. He knows how much of a problem his mana was last game, and he's hoping to avoid that somewhat this time around.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we can look, and we're only like 30 seconds into this match, and Rind's mana is already starting to dip a little bit. He is keeping up with Coding, but he has used that Innervate already, like you said. Now into a full Polymorph. He will have his Trinket available if he needs it, but obviously he doesn't want to use that this early. Livin taking a bit of damage. There's now the Ring of Frost onto Rind as well. This Shockwave comes out. They're trying to just keep that constant pressure up, and this is what Push Push has been doing every single game, is just constant, non-stop pressure. You cannot get away from the damage they put out.
And I mean, Yun spell stole off the Fear Word from Rind into the full Intimidating Shout, which cost Rind his Trinket. So, once again, that is going to be gone. Young is going to be dispelled up by Coding. Coding has had to use his Trinket as well. Meld's going to be blown there also. We do see that Fear was out onto Rind, now into the Shockwave. Rind going to be taking a full Sheep after that, and Livin could be in some trouble. We'll see what he's going to be able to do for himself to stay alive. And it's actually going to be the Trinket on the Dragon's Breath there by Young. He's thrown into the impact though. Now the Sheep Reckless is going to be popped. He's going offensive here.
Double Trinket Reckless too.
A lot of damage coming out.
Yeah, double Trinket Reckless is a lot of damage onto Livin. Rind is not CC'd right now, which is great for Livin, because this was a lot of damage out of that Warrior as the cooldowns fade. But look at the swap back onto Yon as the Dragon's Breath hits both Coding, as we see the Deep on top of it from the Frostjaw, and an immediate block.
Yeah, actually the first Ice Block now coming out of Push Push in this map. So that was some very, very scary damage. Playing with Fire showing that they can actually be a threat to this Korean team. But right back into it. Push Push just dives right back in. Livin actually at very low mana. He's been spell stealing like crazy, just trying to keep those hots off. But I don't know how much it's actually doing for them.
Yeah, and we do see that there was a Dragon's Breath thrown out there, and Coding actually playing Phase Silence this time around, so using that as well, very nice. And we do see the Deep Freeze going to be on Yon. A lot of damage coming in on him. He could actually go down. He's still on Hypothermia. Coding is into the Fear. Hypothermia does end, and he's going to get the second block off. So much more aggressive, much better game here from Playing with Fire. They seem to be able to control Coding very heavily. Dragon's Breath comes out. What do they have to follow this up? A DR Sheep. Yon may go down here. He's down 150k. Rallying Cry comes out. Silence over onto Coding. The bash overlaps completely unfortunately. Will that be enough to let him live? He's down to 50K, 40K, and that overlap is going to cost them the kill, at least for now. Because Coding does have that heal up, but it's not going to be if Yunyun may go down here. He jumps down, Heart of the Wilds didn't pop. He's down to 40K, back up to 100K.
No way.
And the healing touch comes
How did he
down
live?
from Symbiosis.
How did he live?
That rallying cry fell off, and I thought for sure he was dead at that exact moment in time, but somehow or another, Yunyun is still alive, even using the Symbiosis healing touch on himself in the middle of that to top himself back up. Now Young taking a bit of damage into that Cyclone there, and they're trying to turn it around onto Livin here. He's going to be trying to get that Polymorph off. He does get it off onto Coding, just sitting over here by himself. The saddest little sheep ever. Yunyun now once again taking some damage into the Deep Freeze. He does not have Ice Block. This could be big trouble for him. He does have the Iron Bark up, but is he going to be able to stay alive through all of this damage again?
I mean, full silence on Coding. The clone to follow it up. Surely Yunyun has got to be going down here, but he's just kiting so well. They're peeling accidentally. Now the offensive clone has to come in. That's going to be triggered by Yunyun, as Rind was able to land that. But somehow, some way, they do survive again. And I mean, it all comes back to the overlap Bastion silence earlier. That was their kill, and that tiny overlap is going to cost them, at least for now, but they're not out of it just yet. Yunyun still doesn't have another block, as far as I know. The sheep comes over onto Livin. Livin trying to get aggressive here. Now we do see Rind popping his innervate once again. His mana's starting to get pretty low here. There's a Dragon's Breath over onto Coding. What do they have to follow that up? Young is actually the one getting low. The Warrior going to be the target for now. Rin put into the Deep Freeze. Sheeped up after that. Living into the Shockwave, and he is taking a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
Icy Veins to spam the Dispel. I love it. This is so good that Yunyun is trying to set up just off of that, just peeling off the dots, because look at Livin's life, down to almost nothing. Just the block because of that Cyclone. Push is doing an amazing job.
This could be the game. The Shatter comes in. Reckless is going to be popped here. There's the trinket on the Dragon's Breath down to 50K. Rain is in a fear, and that is that. Push are going to the semifinals.
Look at those guys. Look at how happy they are.
Oh man, I would be happy too if I just played that game. That is amazing. Very, very well played coming out of Push. They just seemed so in control for that entire time. There were a couple of times in that match where it looked like Yunyun was in a lot of trouble, but somehow he survived.
Yeah, I mean,
just a wing and a prayer.
The bash and the silence, full overlap on that the one time where he barely lived. You know, the Symbiosis heal coming out. You know, so Coding obviously playing Symbiosis block that time, but you know, we knew it was going to be a tough match for the Shatter Play team. They played their hearts out, and I mean, it's unfortunate for them that their road is going to end here, but nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah, what a team to lose to. Those matches were just incredible.
All right, guys, let's hear a round of applause for these two teams. That is going to be our last series of the day, but you know, we're not done just yet, and we are going to have, you know, more series tomorrow. This tournament is just shaping up to be absolutely insane, and now we do know the semifinals are going to be set. We have 2 European teams already in the semifinals who have been waiting from last weekend, and now we have added our North American team. We have added our Korean team as well, so each region is going to be represented. You know, the Americas, Europe, and Asia are all going to have a team in the top 4.
Oh, every remaining match at this point they're just going to be crazy. I mean, look at how well every match has been played this weekend.
Well, and you know what the crazy thing is? I mean, after Europe looking so dominant last weekend, I feel like with the way that the brackets have ended up, I feel like there's a high chance that neither European team makes it to the finals.
You think so?
Yeah.
Wow, because I mean, this team is scary right now. They are on point.
Yeah.
There was so many excellent CC opportunities that they took advantage of. Just having Young being able to just stay as offensive as he wants to, and even when he's scared, he's hitting those defensives, but he's not running away. He's just staying on his target.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like, you know, the LSD2 matchup is good for 3 Amigos, and at the same time, you know, do you really want to play Shatter Play into that team after you just saw that? Pretty scary. So we'll see what's going to happen with that, but before we find out, we're going to go to Zoe with the interview.
Thank you very much, guys. And now I have Push with me. They also advanced to the semifinals. That was incredible. What a great victory. 3-0. And now you got your spot in the semifinals. And really, like, looking at those games, your CCs are lined up perfectly. The communication between you guys seems to be just so on the spot, so 100% on it. How long have you guys been playing together, if I may ask?
보니까 이제 팀원들 간의 호흡이 정말 엄청 인상적이라고 해가지고 이제 묻고 싶은 거는 얼마나 함께 팀 플레이를 해온 건지.
일단 법사님하고 거의 한 5달 정도 그냥 북미에서 따로 이렇게 둘이서만 맞췄고요. 그리고 전사님이랑 건 맞춘 지 한 3달 정도밖에 3달 정도 됐어요.
So with the mage, he played about 5 months with him. With Warrior, he played about 3 months. So it's even less than 6 months.
Oh, wow. That's even more surprising. Like, you guys are doing an incredible job. So tomorrow you are going to face up against a skill cap. They're going to play a God comp, and by any means your comp should work pretty darn well against that. Do you expect skill cap to actually mirror yours, or do you think they're going to stick with what they got?
내일 이제 준결승에서 스킬캡이랑 상대하게 될 텐데 그쪽 팀에서 지금 조합을 따라 할 거로 이렇게 기대하는지.
그러니까 기대하는지가 미러를 할지.
예, 미러를 할지 않을지.
아, 그걸 저한테 물어보는 거예요.
예.
버밤들을 너무 잘해서 잘하는 팀이라서 아마 미러보다는 버밤들을 할 것 같아요.
He says since their original class, they are so good at it, they don't even need to mirror these classes. Yeah. So he's not expecting they will mirror them.
All right, well, we're going to see what's going to happen tomorrow. Of course, once more, congratulations. That was absolutely incredible. And thanks a lot for joining us once more here on stage. And we are now going to take a look at the brackets to see what is coming up tomorrow, as we had 4 matches today being played, and all of them really have been absolutely great to watch them, as we had some really close ones. But in the end, we did see 2 teams advancing into the semi-finals, joining Skillcapped EU as well as Bleach Bones there. So of course I'm talking about Push Push as well as 3 Amigos. This is what we can expect from tomorrow. So we're definitely going to have some amazing games for that very day. And I very much hope that you guys all are joining us once more tomorrow. I want to thank you all for watching. It's been a great pleasure to host the event, and I can't wait for tomorrow. Good night.